Okay, welcome back to Terrain Fiber Podcast. I am Kelly. I am a mama of two crazy girls, and I'm a quilt pattern designer and just a generally fiber obsessed person. On this channel, I'll be talking about mostly my knitting obsession, which is large in scale, and also some quilt things, mainly the quilts that I'm designing. It's just small amounts of that, and anytime I sew clothes, which is very rarely. But I do have some things coming up that I want to do, so we'll see if I actually do them. So if that sounds good to you, hit the subscribe button, please, so that we can hang out more often. And if you don't mind liking this video, it does actually make a huge difference to the videos that you watch on YouTube. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, I would be very grateful. Anywho, today it's a catch-up video, just a normal catch-up video. I have a couple finished objects that I want to show you, and some things I'm working on, and some things that I'm itching to cast on. So I will timestamp everything. If there's anything you don't want to watch, don't watch it. Don't do it. So let's get right into it. My first finished object is something I have talked extensively about. It was actually a finished object in last week's video, and I was going to post a photo of them with the leather soles on them, but then I didn't do that. So I want to show you now what they look like with the leather sole. And I'm talking about a project that I can't pronounce, but here it is, the NR3 Doble tofler by Strangeland. I've been making these for my brother and his wife. They're double layered slippers. I've talked about it extensively before, so I'm not going to do it again. I just want to show you the leather. Oopsies, I dropped something. The leather soles. I couldn't figure out how to show these off before, and I haven't gotten any better at it now. Bear with me. So I had some leather scraps that were gifted to me, and I traced out the bottom of these slippers, and then I think it was like maybe a ½ inch apart. Every ½ inch or so, I took a nail and a hammer, and I hammered a hole into the leather. Labor of love, guys. These are a labor of love. And so I made the holes in it, and I then sewed them on the slippers. And this is how they look, and I love them. I did the soft side down, and I don't know if that was a bad call, but I wanted to do the soft side down because I put them on so that they would not be so slippery. And if I put the finished side down, they would have been just as slippery, so it kind of defeats the point. So maybe some of y'all know if that was a very bad idea, and you feel free, you tell me. Why that was a very bad idea. So I don't do it again, but they're very soft and they don't slip around the house. And so at this point in time, I feel good about them. So yeah, we're going to skip right through these. The whole project was very much a labor of love. And again, I just don't know how to hold these. So pretty. The back. Maybe it'll focus. Maybe it won't. But I mean, you get the gist. They're done. They're finished. I wanted to show you. Here we go. So that's that. Okay. My next finished object was something I was very excited about. A whip that I was talking about last time. And it is the Moosewalk by Lillemor elfgren. And I have not blocked this, and I'm going to before I give it to my mom. So this is also a gift. This is going to my mom. It's her 60th birthday in a couple weeks. I talked about this also in my last video, But I knit this just to get you up to speed if you haven't seen it. Knit this with 2 strands of knitting for olive merino in marzipan, and then the color changing yarn is spincycle yarns dyed in the wool. Sex on the beach. I can't say enough good things about this pattern. I love it. It's beautiful. I feel like this is the most beautiful thing I have ever made, perhaps. It's just so pretty to look at. Let's just have a moment for this. It was a perfect pattern. It was like a 1-page pattern. Obviously it's charted. So there's the chart, but it was so easy to follow, such a joy to do. And the only change that I made is you can see here at the bottom, you do this ribbing, the 1x1 ribbing, and actually it was a twisted rib, and I was like, no thanks. So, but then there's this like purl bump that you do that I think maybe is just like an aesthetic thing, like as like a marker of the start of the color work or something. But the issue with it is it really wants to flip up on itself. And I'm pretty sure that when designers do some hat designs that are meant to be folded, they'll put a purl bump in it so that it keeps that fold easier, like it wants to fold there. So I didn't think about it before I made it, but I saw that that was happening, and it actually kind of works well at the bottom because it helps that ribbing to expand more and kind of lay more flat on the chest, but it does kind of want to flip up, and I did not want that to happen up here. And so I actually went down from a size US 2.5 for the ribbing to a US 1.5. So I went down a whole size just to make the ribbing. This is going to be a functional piece. So when my mom's out doing wintery things, it will actually stay up, and I skipped that pro bump. I actually think I did an extra round in the color work just because it was getting so pretty and I didn't want to stop. So anyway, those are the changes that I made. Let me put it on for you because you know what? Why not? Why the heck not? I mean, come on. Yeah, see, so you can see it kind of wanted to flip up down here. That would be so unfortunate if this wanted to flip down. Like it would not be good. So the way that I did it, it makes it nice and snug, but not too snug on the face. You can still pull it down and it's comfortable, but you can pull it up and, excuse me, you can pull it up and it stays up. And then, you'll just have to kind of, this will be hidden anyway. But yeah, I hate that. That's that. And I'm in love. And if I liked knitting patterns again, I would probably knit this again. Excuse whatever my hair is doing. I don't particularly like knitting patterns again, but I really want to knit this again, and I kind of want one. So we may be seeing this again at some point, and it's so like, even though it's like a sport weight pattern, it's still so squishy. That's that, and I need to block it and give it to my mama so she can enjoy it. There we go. So for my next finished object, or my last, let's see. Yes, my last finished object is the hipster hat by petiteknit. That's this. Okay. I am uninspired by this, not because of the pattern. The pattern was actually really great, and I think as far as hat patterns go, I'll make this all the time. I've made a hat, one of the Pearl Soho free patterns, and it's a 1x1 rib, I think, for the whole thing. I much prefer this hat, the 2x2 rib, over that one. It just kind of fits snugly to the head a little bit better. So yes, the petiteknit pattern is wonderful. I made size 3. I made it in Green Mountain Spinnery Mewesic for this like yellowy green, and Harrisville Highland Loden for the blue. I decreased for the decreases. You can see at the top, I decreased 1 round quicker than the pattern called for, so it like barely made a difference, I'm sure. But I didn't want to run out of the blue yarn. The reason why I am here, let me put this on. The reason why I am unimpressed by this hat is my color choice. And if you watch my last video, you'll know that I am really drawn to golden yellows and golden browns and brown and brown and brown with pops of color in between. So I use this blue color in my frame sweater, and it looks beautiful in there because there's a golden brown in there and a white to kind of balance it out. But I had a whole skein of the blue color left and the brown color, and I'll show you what I'm doing with brown color in a minute. It's just not they're just not my colors, you know? But I needed a hat for a trip coming up, and I didn't want to buy yarn, and so here we are with this. But it fits great. I told you I did the size 3. I knit it as the pattern calls for. I think it's on a size 4 needle, except for that slightly quicker round. Oh, and I think I knit it to about, well, I don't want to tell you how long to knit it because it's a paid for pattern, but I knit it a little bit shorter when you're just doing the ribbing. I knit it a little bit shorter than was called for because of the yarn situation, and I would have liked to have knit it a little bit longer. The yarn that I chose for it is a worsted weight instead of the DK that it calls for. I knit it a little bit shorter, and I would change all of those things when I knit it again, because I will. So maybe I'll knit a yellow hat in the future, and it'll make me very happy. It'll be a little bit less bulky, and the brim will be a little bit higher, and that's it. It keeps my head warm and my hair out of my face, which is really all I need. And it's not like it's ugly. It's just, right? Right, guys? It's just, they're just uninspiring colors for me. So I'm proud of myself that I finished it, and that's all I really have to say about it. I guess I'll keep it on at this point. That's my last finished object. Let's roll on towards the whips. Okay, I have one knitted whip, and that is the roddin, whatever, mitts by ysolda teague. This is as far as I'm at with it. I have this white here because I also am not knitting at with the right weight of yarn for this, I think. No, I am. I think it's a worsted weight. Anyway, I'm not hitting gauge is clearly what's happening. And so I went down a size. I went down to the size small instead of the size medium because I have thicker yarn. And I went down to a US 0 for the cuff. I can't remember what it actually calls for, but I actually knit it with the needles that I was supposed to knit it with, and the cuff was just too big. I didn't swatch for this because this is I might as well just make it, you know what I mean? So I think it was supposed to be a US 2 for the ribbing. And so I went down to a US 0, and then it calls for a US 4. You move up to a US 4 after the ribbing. And I am jumping back up to a US 4 because I did go down in sizes, and I just wanted a tighter cuff. But I put in a lifeline where I move up to the bigger needle so that if I don't like the way that it's looking, I can just tear it out and start over with a smaller needle, with a size 3, US 3 needle. So this was the extra skein of yarn that I had for my frame sweater. I always end up with extra yarn whenever I knit. Even with that hat that I was making, that the hipster hat that I was worried about running out of yarn, I still have yarn left. Like I think now that I say this, I'm going to jinx myself, but every pattern I've made, I've always ended up with extra yarn. And I ended up with 2 extra skeins from the frame sweater, which is fine. I'm fine with it. So anyway, this is what I decided to do with it. And I love this color, obviously. It's the, let's see, Harrisville Highland foliage, number 80 foliage. So obviously I've just started on these. I also want these for our trip. So I'm going to be knitting on these I told my husband over the weekend or before the past weekend started, it's Wednesday today, ugh, that I was going to finish them over the weekend. And you can see how well that happened. But I had a good reason, and I'll tell you about that later. So hopefully I'll have more to show you next time we talk. But for now, this is it. This is my first time knitting a ysolda teague pattern, and the pattern's beautiful. It's really fun to look at. So I will keep you updated as I continue knitting through it, but so far I really like it. And I'm excited to have them finish. Okay, so my other whip is actually a quilted thing. I am working on a quilt pattern that should release mid-February. I'm sending it to my tech editor at the end of the month, and then it should be ready. I think I'm also going to take it up to Maine, Lake Placid. Oh, I have a trip in a couple weeks going up to Maine and Lake Placid. That's the trip I've been talking about. Anyway, I think I'm going to take it up there for photos. So that's the only thing that I have left to do for the actual pattern. And I finished the quilt top yesterday, and I'm going to put in a photo here because I am so proud of it. It's for my youngest. She doesn't have a quilt, like a bed-size quilt that I've made her. And so I designed it for her. It's called the Prairie Fire quilt. Prairie Fire is a flower. You might have heard it called paintbrush or Indian paintbrush. I just like Prairie Fire better. So it's kind of loosely based off of that. I've started to create quilt patterns around native plants and animals, and that's the theme I'm going to run with going forward. So it was so fun to quilt together, and now I need to scrounge up some batting and actually quilt the dang thing. So you should be able to see little pictures of it here, and I'm very proud of that. I use, shoot, what's the fabric? It's grown, dyed, and milled in America and woven in America. The brand, oh, this is easy. It's called American Made, I'm pretty sure, is the fabric line. It's great. It was great to work with, and that's probably the fabric that I'll work with going forward. Okay, I had to take off that. So that's it for whips. Now, my impending cast-ons, I showed you this last video, but I got some Les Garcons yarn in crisp pine green for Christmas from my husband. And I want to take this and turn it into a pair of oxbow socks. This is my next cast-on. This is what is going. I only have one project going right now. Obviously, that's my roddin mitts. And so this is what's going on next. And I am very excited because it's very exciting. I don't know, you get it? The sock pattern is a new one by Andrea Mowry. The oxbow socks, I think I just said that. Anyway, I like the stitch pattern that it has on it. I also think that it would probably make it a more durable sock to have a stitch pattern going versus just plain stockinette. I think that's how it works. Having some amount of texture helps. Correct me if I'm wrong. But also, like I said before, this has a majority BFL Blueface Leicester in it, which is a longer wool staple length, a wool with longer staple length, which just makes it a more durable yarn. And I want to try it for a sock yarn without nylon. So that's what's next. Then after that, I am casting on the White Russian by Thea Coleman. This has been on my list for 1,000 years, and I needed to do it. I want to knit other sweaters, but not because the sweater isn't awesome, but just because that's what my brain does. But I have the yarn for this, and I want it. So, and also by the time I'm done knitting with it, it's probably going to be the more usable of the sweaters because it's kind of like a crew neck, boat neck type of thing. More crew neck. I think crew neck. Anyway, it's just a lighter weight sweater. The other ones that I want to do are like worsted weight color work sweaters, so just very warm with like collars that come up to here because that's what I want right now. But by the time I'm done by the time I'm done knitting it, I'm in North Carolina. It's gonna be, it's just not, I'm not gonna be able to wear it. So White Russian, and I'm going to show you the yarn I'm going to knit it in. It's Green Mountain Spinnery Lana, and my husband and I dyed it, so it's just our own color. And who would have guessed? It is a golden brown. I mean, it's kind of like a more yellow, right? Brown, but it's still that. Maybe I should just own this and stop feeling bad for liking this. Like, why do I feel bad for just wanting to wear this all the time? Anyway, this yarn is just so nice to knit with. It's buttery. That's what I would call the yarns that I have tried from Green Mountain Spinnery. I would call them buttery, and I love them. Yeah. So that is that. I'm going to make that. What I want to knit, but I won't, is my next section, is the Inge sweater solo by Lena Holmes Samso or Lay Knit. This is the sweater that I want to knit. I will, but not now. I don't have the yarn for it, and it's not practical. Ugh. So I want to, but I won't right now. And just a little bit of life updates. So the reason why I didn't finish my roddin knits this weekend was we got snow. We got some snow here in North Carolina, and we live in the mountains in North Carolina. And so we went looking for more snow, and we drove up to Rowan Mountain in Tennessee. It's like right on the Tennessee, North Carolina border. And it's like a 6,000 something elevation at the top of the mountain. The AT goes over the top of the mountain. And we've been there before. It's beautiful, but we figured it would be a good place to go for some snow. And so we drove up there. We got snow on Friday. We drove up Saturday morning and got to the top of the mountain. And it was like the wind was insane. Like you go to open your car door and it's like blowing it all the way up. You're like, is it gonna rip off the hinges kind of thing? And it was negative degrees up there. And Ryan and I would have had so much fun, like cross country skiing up there. And I think the kids would have had fun for a little while, but it would have been short lived. So we took the party down the mountain and found a Forest Service road and took the sleds out, and we went sledding and rolled in the snow and did snowmen. We brought out a thermos of hot chocolate and some stuff for lunch, and we just chilled. And the girls had such a good day. And then on Sunday, we drove back. So it's an hour and like 40 minutes, an hour and a half from our house. So we drove back, and then we drove back up on Sunday, and we went to the top of Rowan Mountain, and it was just a bluebird day. And Ryan took out his cross-country skis. And so he went and took one of the dogs and went cross-country skiing while the girls and I played in some snow, did some more sledding, did some more snowmen kind of thing. Then he came back down and we did another hot chocolate lunch deal. We had like our camp chairs set out and we just like did the thing. And then we went out for more sledding, and then we headed home. And it was a full weekend, and it was so worth it. And because especially my oldest has been asking for snow like basically every day since we left Montana. And so we were just like, we gotta get it. So that was super fun, but also why I wasn't able to knit a bunch, and definitely worth it. And then looking forward for life updates, I am local to Black Mountain Yarn Shop, and they have their anniversary this weekend. And one of the things that they're doing for their anniversary is a maker's craft night, but like a ticketed thing. Like it was a dinner. They're doing like a serving dinner and dessert. And so one of my friends and I are going to go to that. I'm so excited. So we're going to go to Black Mountain Yarn Shop for that dinner. And it's going to be really fun. And then at the end of next week, we are leaving to first go to Portland, Maine. Just Ryan and I. For the first time in a long time, we're going on a trip, just him and I. It's going to be awesome. And then we're meeting my mom with the girls and my brother and his wife in Lake Placid, New York to have a bit of fun. Go skiing, cross-country skiing, and I can't wait. I don't know how much you're going to hear from me in the next couple of weeks, but I will be back because I'm definitely going to visit some yarn shops while I'm up north, and I will definitely have gotten some projects done. So, yeah. Oh, I forgot to say what I'm wearing. This is the Winter's Beach Cardi by Andrew Mowry, and it was my first time doing cables, and I loved it. It was great. I think if you've never done cables, but you want to try one, and you like the look of the cardi, go for it, because I think it was a really nice way to do cables without it being overwhelming. Like, the whole thing isn't cabled. And like, the whole thing isn't cabled. It's got a lot of moss stitch in it as well. It just kind of broke it up, but you did enough cabling. I don't know. It was just good. So yeah, I think that's about it. So if you liked this video, give it a like if you're still here. And if you're still here, you might enjoy some of my other videos. So I would love it if you would subscribe and join me here more regularly on this channel. Please comment. I love hearing from you. So many people have commented and said they were excited I was posting videos again, which is just like the nicest thing. Thank you for taking the time to share that. That's so nice. And tell me what you're making. Tell me how the beginning of your new year is going. You know, is it a good start? Is it a not so good start? And no matter what you do, keep making, because it makes the world even more beautiful, and we all need that. Love you guys. See you next time.